YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back today, counting down the top 10 run defenses for the upcoming 2021 NFL season. A lot of good ones out there. We're going to talk about some teams that just missed the cut, some other good ones here. We're going to talk about more than 10 teams here. We'll break it down. Did some similar rankings for offenses. We're going to do the same thing for defense, rank defenses from 32 to 1, just like we did offense 32 to 1. So check all that out. Stay tuned for all that's coming. Like, subscribe, full NFL coverage in season. Cannot wait for that in-season content. Follow our Twitter. Help us reach 10K. That's a must follow if you're an NFL or a Goat House fan. Link down below for that. Here's our Twitter again, at Goat House NFL, asking you guys who's the best run defense. Constant updates. Joe Schobert got traded. It's not official yet. We were breaking that down a ton. We were breaking down the preseason game last night. A ton. Got preseason predictions on here. I'll pin a link directly to that in the comments while we're at it. Top 10, before that, some really good teams that just missed the cut. These feel like top 10 rush defenses, but they just miss. The Bears have been a pretty damn good defense for the last several years. It does feel like they're kind of taking a step down, especially for stopping the run. Declined a little bit last year, but you do factor in they get Eddie Goldman back, their nose tackle, who's a very good run stopper. So could that boost them back up? They're kind of borderline right there because they kind of fell outside the top 10 based on, maybe not the last couple years, maybe just last year. But Goldman back is pretty big. Other teams kind of improved in several different areas, though. Eagles, they were a little underwhelming last year because the defensive line, the actual front, looks really good in terms of stopping the run. Big name players, Fletcher Cox, they added Javon Hargrave, stud nose tackle, going to continue to get better. Their defensive ends, Brandon Graham, he can stop the run at a high level. The linebackers is what killed them last year and what made them underwhelming as a run-stopping unit. They could be a little bit better in terms of the linebacker unit this year. I like adding Eric Wilson. He seemed to be all over the place last year with a kind of a breakout year. So will that be enough to boost them? I think they play more like a top 10 rush defense. But again, they were underwhelming last year. Patriots got some opt-outs back. Dante Hightower back, huge piece. Van Noy back. Wasn't an opt-out. They just got him back from the Dolphins, of course. They improved the actual defensive line. Add Godchow. They had Barmore, love that draft pick. So I mean, there's new faces everywhere, or not new faces, but returning plus new faces. The combination of that helps the Patriots run defense tremendously. Seahawks have been a pretty good run defense. They value stopping the run first. I love it. They did lose Jaron Reed. He goes to the Kansas City Chiefs, and they do lose KJ Wright. But I do like Jordan Brooks, his potential. He was a dominant run stopper at Texas Tech. A little bit different here. Can he step up? But losing those guys kind of bumps them just on the outside. But Poona Ford's a dominant run stopper. Bobby Wagner's a dominant run stopper. Defensive ends like Carlos Dunlap can be involved in that. We've seen him. He was very solid for them in that category last year. So it's all riding on guys stepping up for Jaron Reed and for KJ Wright because they're missing those guys, but they're still going to be a solid run-stopping team. The Saints have been as consistent as anybody in terms of stopping the run every single year. They're always at the top of the NFL stopping the run for the last, I can't even count how many years. Problem is they've lost quite a bit of those pieces on the interior. Yeah, mainly the interior defensive line that kind of pushes them back, On top of that, David Onyemata is going to be suspended for 6 games. If he wasn't suspended for the first 6 games, at least he's going to play majority of the season. But if he wasn't suspended, I would have a hard time keeping the Saints outside the top 10. They'd probably be in the top 10. Recently brought Quan Alexander back, so that's good. Hopefully he stays healthy. Cam Jordan as a defensive end can stop the run pretty high level. But in terms of, stopping the run, filling the gaps, it's really Demario Davis, on paper kind of in that category. But, maybe there's just a really good group of coaching staff developing these guys where they can just step up. And so it's going to be interesting to see if they're still top tier stopping the run. When Onyemata comes back, they'll feel like a top 10 team in this category. The Chiefs, maybe a little surprising one because they have not been even close to top 10 stopping the run. They add Jaron Reed. I love that, and they're going to be playing a lot of Chris Jones, Jaron Reed, and Derek Nottie. That's 3 defensive linemen, interior defensive linemen. We're going to see them all out there at the same time quite a bit. I truly believe that. And they got some young linebackers stepping up. Willie Gay Jr. They drafted Nick Bolton, who was very good stopping a run. But mainly looking at that defensive front, what they're trying to do, geared towards stopping a run, it's going to be pretty damn good. They kind of built it to play against the Ravens, to play against the Titans, to play against the Browns. That's the way they built that. They went for the run stuffer defensive line there. So that's a team to look out for. And the Falcons were surprisingly good, especially second half of the year last year, stopping a run. And we know they got Grady Jarrett, but a group of linebackers stepping up and helping out in that category. They had Marlon Davidson last year. I think he's going to fit this newer scheme a little better. So you had a number of guys that are in here to help stopping the run, and they definitely got upside in that category, in my opinion. So these are teams to look out for. You definitely can debate that they're just inside the top 10 as well. But on to my top 10. Number 10, I'm going to go with the Jets. Have been a bad team, but what people don't realize, they have been stopping the run at a pretty high level. I think somewhat of a high level. I think they take that next step now. Quinnen Williams is going to be an absolute monster in this new scheme. They had Sheldon Rankins from the Saints, was a big piece of helping to stop, slow run rush offenses down there. Carl Lawson could play a factor in that category. Vinny Curry. They got a number of guys. You get C.J. Mosley back in terms of the linebacker position. I like adding Jared Davis. I think that's an underrated signing. They have Blake Cashman to fill in at linebacker as well. I think their safeties do a great job. Ashton Davis, Marcus May, they fly around the field, not afraid to come up and hit. So they got a pretty good group here with a better scheme, better coaching staff as well. So they should be in the top 10 this year. Number 9, the other New York team, going to go with the Giants. They do lose Dalvin Tomlinson, which is tough. They get Danny Shelton, who that's, why Tomlinson's better than Shelton's, because Tomlinson has a little more to his game, getting after the quarterback, getting some pressure a little bit, but Shelton is just as good as a run stopper there. He's pure run stopper in terms of a nose tackle for Danny Shelton, that is. They have Dexter Lawrence, who's going to be an absolute monster, I think, this year. Leonard Williams is a stud. We already know that. Blake Martinez, tackling machine out there. And I think the Giants do a really good job. I think there's what kind of goes unnoticed here. The biggest piece, this coaching staff does a really good job game planning correctly for a different style of offenses there. So I think that really comes into play here for the Giants. So I do like their coaching staff in terms of the ability to game plan. So they come in at number 9. Number 8 is going to be the San Francisco 49ers. Should be back in the conversation. They were already very solid before. Robert Saleh's gone. Well, that's kind of the question. Do they take a hit because of that? Fred Warner's a do-it-all linebacker. I think he stands out more in pass coverage, but he's a do-it-all linebacker, Greenlaw. But the defensive line, as long as it's healthy, it's definitely very strong in this category. They were better when they had DeForest Buckner. I mean, that's a top-tier run stopper right there. But they're still very solid. The pass rushers could be involved. Nick Bosa, could be involved in stopping the run at a high level. So they got the guys there. It's got to be healthy. We'll see if there is a drop off because the coaching change. I don't know if I really expect one. Got talented players out there. 7 going to go the Steelers. That's the good news here. The Steelers are better against the pass, mainly pass rushing. But then they're number 7. I have them in this range, stopping the run. So it just shows how good the Steelers' defense is. They do add Joe Schobert. I think Schobert's strength is more coverage for an inside linebacker. I think we'll see Devin Bush more involved in stopping the run at a higher level maybe. Defensive front, you got Hayward. You got Alu in there. You got Tuitt. Tuitt a little better in getting after the quarterback. But, yeah, they got a long list of guys that are involved in that. It's mainly coming from their front 7. But it's a dominant front 7 there. But they come in at number 7 here. But I do think they're better in terms of a pass defense, which would do those rankings. Mainly because their pass rush. That's where they're built. That's where they're mainly built. But all over the place in terms of their defense. 6, I'm going to go with the Rams. Tough one to rank because, Aaron Donald, the best in the business, gets you up here, really. And they were better than 6 last year. They lose Michael Brockers, though. Do they take a little bit of a hit for that? There was games where their rush defense didn't, it was a dominant week, and then it was an underwhelming week. And I think it was due to their inside linebacker play. You see that the Packers in the playoffs really exposed that. Maybe they get a little healthier in that category. Kaiser possibly, he gets out there healthier, possibly could step up for them this year. But losing Brockers, and they got other pieces. Their pass rushers aren't the worst. Against Leonard Floyd's always been known for stopping the run. He just had to add more of the pass rush ability, which he did last year. So they got other guys, but it does feel like Donald has to carry the load. But it helps that he's got other talented guys Teams may be afraid to throw on them as much because they're secondary, so that helps as well. At the end of the day, it's still going to be a really good run defense, really good defense in general. 5, I'm going to go Washington football team. Kind of like the Steelers, I think they're better against the pass because their pass rush ability, but their secondary as well. So that's a great sign that we know they're going to be high in both categories there. But I mean, they got a lot of young guys that Chase Young was already polished stopping the run, especially as an edge rusher, already polished. It was dominant last year. Jonathan Allen's a good balanced in both categories. Deron Payne's an excellent run stuffer there at the nose tackle position. Young guy too, still getting better. They had Jamin Davis. Linebacker unit was the concern for being consistent in the tackling department, which factors into stopping the run, of course, quite a bit. A little inconsistent, but they had Jamin Davis, who it's not going to boost it a ton right off the bat as a rookie, but it helps it. It definitely helps it. So kind of with that, Landon Collins back, he's definitely helps. He kind of almost plays that rover role, like a box safety, almost like a linebacker. So he's a factor in that. So yeah, adding Jamin Davis, Landon Collins back, and then young guys just getting better across the defensive line. All that factors them into, because they weren't here last year. They were not here last year, but that factors into kind of getting that boost up to number 5. Number 4, I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens, who've consistently, another one of those teams that consistently been a dominant team in terms of stopping the run. And we look at that Titans game in the playoff. What a performance that was, just shutting down Derrick Henry. No one could do it. The Ravens did it in that game. Just fantastic, really. And I expect him to kind of just be in this range, just kind of sitting in this range. What I do, you do worry about a little bit, kind of the heart and soul of stopping a run for this team is that defensive line, that 3-man defensive line with Calais Campbell, Brandon Williams, and Derek Wolfe. What do those guys have in common? They're up there in age, so will we see a little bit of a drop-off? That's what you kind of worry about a little bit. I don't think enough of one because you factor in the other young players. Their safeties are also very much involved in stopping the run as well. Then you factor it all in. Martindale, a genius of a defensive coordinator. They're still going to sit in this range. They probably won't be the top one maybe because of that, but maybe some young guys like Matt Abuke, who they drafted last year at A&M, could step up for them as well in the rotation and help them out. Patrick Queen's going to continue to get better. Remember, he was kind of a raw prospect, just got going late year for LSU. So yeah, a lot of things factor in. They very much value stopping the run, so they will do it. 3, I'm going to go with the Colts, right around where they were last year. And I thought they were a top 3 run-stopping defense, in my opinion, last year. And I think they'll continue to be that. Having DeForest Buckner is huge. They really got that boost from him last year, adding him. And that boosted their run defense tremendously. Grover Stewart's, that's what he does. He's going to stop the run. He's not going to get any quarterback pressure. He's a guy, nose tackle, that's going to come in there and stop the run. They had Kwity Paye. Hopefully he's healthy. I think he'll be fine. It's actually a pretty good run-stopping defensive end. You lose. Justin Houston's not a big factor in this category. I think Danico Autry is. Danico Autry would kind of moved around a bit, but for a defensive end, mainly for the Colts, he did a really good job stopping the run. So adding Kwity Paye, that helps. That helps. It's he's a good run-stopping defensive end. Will he be as good as where Autry was last year right off the bat? And then you look at linebacker, they got one of the best, Darius Leonard, who helps stop the run. They do lose Anthony Walker, who got an insane amount of snaps last year, but they have Bobby Okereke to kind of step up, so I think he'll play. I think he'll have a breakout year this year, but will they miss Walker? Because they use 3 linebackers quite a bit. That's kind of the question. Their safeties are also involved in stopping the run as well, and they're very consistent in terms of tackling. They're very young in that category as well, so these guys should be able to continue to get better. Could they, again, Autry, Anthony Walker Jr., will they take a hit from losing those guys in this category? I don't think enough of one, and the other guys are getting better at the same time. So that's why I'm kind of sticking them still in the top 3 here. I definitely believe in that group, well coached as well. 2, I'm going to go with the Vikings. The Vikings built this team to stop the run at a high level. And I was going to say they built this team this offseason to do that, but they had Michael Pierce 2 off seasons ago. He just hasn't played for them yet, but they got Michael Pierce, Dalvin Tomlinson. There are 2 defensive tackles. It's just pure run stuffing there. Danielle Hunter's back for the Vikings. He was known as one of the better run-stopping defensive ends in football, so it's good to have him back. Eric Kendricks missed a portion of the end of the year. he's back. One of the better inside linebackers in football. Anthony Barr missed pretty much the entire season, but one game it was last year. They having that linebacker unit back helps with this run defense. We know Harrison Smith's involved in this category as well. They built this defense to stop the run at a high level. It just all got to click. It's a lot of new faces, a lot of guys coming back. It just all got to click together. On paper, it's looking beautiful, but they got to click and they got to stay healthy. They most certainly were not healthy last year, but it looks pretty. It looks pretty on paper right now. Let's see if they live up to that. I believe they will, because it wasn't all injuries last year. Michael Pierce opted out, which was supposed to be that key piece to building this thing to stop the run. So hopefully they stay healthy this year. Number one, it should be pretty obvious, is the Buccaneers. That front seven is nasty. It's absolutely nasty. They have the best inside linebacker duo in football, Levante David and Devin White. Extremely good stopping a run, consistent tacklers. More David White, a little more flashy, sideline to sideline, also gets in the backfield a ton. Look at the actual defensive line. Vita Vea is a run-stuffing machine in terms of a nose tackle. Young getting better. Ndamukong Suh, still very good, stopping the run. And they have William Golston as well. I do like the rotation, but their pass rushers, mainly Jason Pierre-Paul, for a pass rusher, I think is involved very much there. And you look at the safeties. Mike Edwards is used to being around the box. Winfield kind of does it all. He's a very good tackler. So they got a load of guys that not only contribute, but they contribute at a very high level, and they work really well as a unit here. So I thought it was a no-brainer for the Buccaneers. The Vikings a little bold because it's a lot of things they got to click, but on paper it just looks like a top number one caliber run defense. Colts have been pretty consistent, and I think they continue to be up here. But there's probably going to be surprise teams. There always are. Things just don't stay the same. That's just how it works. Things change in the NFL. So those are my run defense rankings here. Let me know your guys' thoughts, your guys' rankings. We're talking about it already on Twitter. We will do pass defenses next. In that, obviously, a combination, just coverage in general, but pass rush. Don't forget about pass rush. That all factors in. I think that's actually more important. And then we'll rank every defense from 32 to 1, just like we did offenses. So hopefully you join us for all that. Like, subscribe, be much, much appreciated. Make sure you follow that Twitter link down below. It's going to do it, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.